proportional reasoning, and applications of percent. Applications of percent occur everywhere around you. We use them in sales tax, discounts, markups, bonuses, commission, interest, gas prices, within sports. We're going to do a few examples here right now, and we're going to use the strategies we've learned for word problems to try and help us do them. Example 1. Rachel spent 30% of her birthday money on a Kobo e-reader Touch. If she received $350, how much money did she spend on her e-reader? Let's go through again and highlight the important information. Rachel spent 30% of her birthday money on the e-reader. It really doesn't matter what she spent it on. We care that she spent 30%. She received $350. How much did she spend on her e-reader? So we're really looking for how much. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, so we can say let X represent the amount of money she spent on her e-reader. Now, we know that she spent 30% of her money, so it's 30% of $350. We also know that we can't work with a percent as it is. We always have to switch it to a decimal. And the way to change a percent to a decimal is to divide by 100. We know the word of also implies that we need to multiply. So we now have X equals, we follow our BEDMAS conventions, 0.3 times 350. And that gives us 105. Oops, we need to extend the page again. And because it's a word problem, we have to write a sentence answer. So therefore, she spent $105 on her e-reader. Okay. And again, you'll be able to copy that better here because it's written up neatly on the next slide. Example 2. Aaliyah spent 13 hours on the weekend doing chores for her parents. If she spent 3 hours gardening, what percent to the nearest tenth of a percent of her chore time was spent gardening? So we're going to highlight the important information. She spent 13 hours on the weekend doing chores. 3 hours was gardening. We want to know percent to the nearest tenth of her time that was spent gardening. So we want to know the percent, and we're going to round to the tenths. So again, we need to introduce the variables we're going to use. I'm going to say let X represent the percent of her time spent gardening, or of her chore time. Now she spent 3 hours out of 13. Well, that's a fraction. 3 hours out of 13 hours. Now when I work with that, that's representing the amount of time she spent as a fraction, but I need it as a percent, so I have to multiply by 100%. So that ends up giving me approximately 0.23076923 times 100%. And when I multiply that by 100%, I get 23.076923%. And it said to do it to the nearest tenth of a percent. So I want to have my number in the tenths column. That'll be my last number. So I look at the number immediately to the right. It's bigger than 5. So it tells me to take the number in my tenths column, which is a 0, and add 1 to it. So it's 23.1%. So therefore, Aaliyah spent approximately, because it's a rounded number, 23.1% of her chore time doing chores. And again, guys, sorry about the writing. It's difficult sometimes with the styluses to get good penmanship going, but the example is written neatly here for you to copy later. And of course, I've forgotten the sentence answer here, so you're going to want to add that in from the slide before. And homework, page 3, applications of percent, number 1 to 4.